Man, so I don't know about you. I am so thankful when we hit October. It is so relieving to me. So this is the month when the summer wind begins to cool and we can finally stop mowing. And it is also the door to the holidays. And so that means it's about 28 days to Christmas. So it's time to get out there and get those presents done and grab that tree at Lowe's. As a pastor, I love October here because it is the home to our annual vision series. And so once a year, we get to talk about all things church. So we talk about a lot of things that are happening statewide for us and here at home. And this series allows us to revisit and reteach what is important to us as a church and why we do church, how we do church. We get to cast a little bit of vision. We get to communicate both the wins and the weak spots of our campus specifically. I use this language of our campus because if you're new to us, NLC is a multi-site church. And so we have several campuses around the state. All of them are linked together, but we have very specific goals and things that we want to do here in our great community. So in front of me is an object or some objects that are not foreign to you. As a matter of fact, you've probably all got some similarity to this in your own home. If you're like me, you grew up around this. And so a lot of things happened at this particular setup. So what happens at a table can be very sacred. It can be fun. There are a lot of things that fall into the category of what happens at a kitchen table. So meals that are prepared, or in our case, prepared at Greek House. And we have conversation around a table. A lot of us have game night. We have holiday puzzles. We have homework. So the table becomes symbolic of something far more complex than just being another piece of furniture. The table represents, in a lot of our cases, parenting. We were parented at a table. We gave parenting at a table. It's where children learn about manners, learn about sharing, learn about the responsibility. Maybe you have your children set up the table. Maybe you have them clean up afterward. The table hears our words about faith, about family, maybe even both. Somehow it becomes a space that greets our guests, it feeds our bellies, and sometimes it catches tears. It becomes a big hub. And so in the 1980s, the world was living under fear of nuclear war. We called it the Cold War. Anybody from the 80s, you remember what those were like? Yeah, you tight-rolled those pants till the blood got cut off. That's right. Two nations in the Cold War despised each other, the United States and the Soviet Union. Each nation viewed the other as dangerous. Tension was extremely high and palpable fear lingered every day. But something happened in 1985 that was completely unexpected. Gorbachev invited Ronald Reagan to come and sit down to a table. They walked into a room, oddly alone. No entourage, no Secret Service, no personal assistant, just the two of them. And the room was, by both of them, testimony was cold and odd, a little stiff and intimidating for both of them. But then they began to talk. They started about their grandchildren. Then they started talking about their hopes for the future. And oddly, they ended with a talk about how much they loved hockey. For the next 2 years, that table talk continued for them. It became a place of unexpected civility. Until in 1987, at a table, They signed the first ever agreement for a nuclear arms reduction. A table improved the condition of the world. So I want to take that thought and I want to package it for us. What does it mean for our church to have and be a table? Our church is a place for our guests. It is a place for fellowship. By our own mantra, it is a place where our family and friends can become fully devoted followers of Jesus Christ. So my goal this morning as we open up this series on vision is to extend and open an invitation for every single one of us to find our place here. To realize that we are at a table. That we're at a table where conversation and fellowship and faith is grown. We're at a place where we can receive parenting. We're at a place where we learn to share and get along with each other. My goal is to remind us that this is not a members-only club. It's to remind us that there are no annual dues. There are no hidden fees. There's an open seat, again, for your family and your friends. So as a reminder, you can start your journey with Christ here in this church. You can use your gifts to serve Christ here. You can find a spouse here. You can find a friend here. But most importantly, you can grow in Jesus here. Regardless of where you are in this journey, you can hop in and begin to grow and mature more and more in your faith right here, gathered around the table which we want to provide. So today I want you to go to Luke chapter 14 if you have your Bible, and I'm going to read a story, a parable. It's a story that is challenging. There's a lot of emotion in it. There's a lot of passion in it. And I think it's going to fit perfectly with what we want to talk about this morning. So I want you to go to Luke chapter 14, and let's read verse 16 through 23. Luke 14, 16 through 23. Those Bibles sound good this morning. Verse 16, a certain man was preparing a great banquet and invited many guests. At the time of the banquet, he sent his servant to tell those who had been invited, "Come, for everything is ready." But they all began to make excuses. The first said, "I have just bought a field, and I must go and see it. Please excuse me." Verse 19. Another said, "I've just bought 5 yoke of oxen, and I'm on my way to try them out. Please excuse me." Verse 20, another said, "I just got married, so I can't come." The servant came back and reported this to the master, and the owner of the house became upset. He ordered his servant, "Go quickly into the streets and alleys of the town and bring in the poor, the crippled, the blind, and the lame." "Sir," the servant said, "what you ordered has been done, but there is still room." And the master told the servant, "Then go out to the road and the country lane and compel them to come in, that my house will be full." This story is about a large invitation. It's about a man who obviously in this context would have had wealth. I'm going to put on a great dinner. I want people to come. I want the house full. I'm going to serve the best things. We're going to have incredible food. And so we're going to get this opportunity to just hang out and be together, and we're going to laugh, and we're going to be friends. And suddenly these people that he had thought were here, his esteemed guests, began to send back those little RSVP card with decline on it. And they each wrote what was going on. But it's also this big story of excuses. And so there are three reasons why those invited said that they could not come, and we're going to look at those very, very briefly. But in verse 18, the first one is, I've got a possession to maintain. So I've got something that I've bought that now I've got to care for. I know you've heard me talk about America's culture and how obsessed we are with stuff. We are highly materialistic. We love things. And there's nothing wrong with having things, but some of you may even feel guilty for being so blessed. And I would tell you, don't be. One of God's love languages to us is gift giving. And if you're overly blessed, then be that way. Dave Ramsey only warns us, he says, possessions are great unless they possess you. So as long as they stay out here away from our heart, we use them, they are tools. We are a blessing to bless other people. Great, be blessed, be overly blessed. Be blessed till your cup runs over and spills out onto somebody else. But the excuses of being blessed become things like, hey, listen, God has blessed us with property, and now guess what? Now we got to take care of it. Or, hey, we just built this incredible home, and now guess what? We got to clean it. Or, I've got this incredible garden, and guess what? I got to tend it. I got this incredible car, now I got to shine it. I've got stuff. And we move that into the church world that, like, I'm so blessed, I got all these things, but now these things have tethered me to them, and I now have responsibility for those things. And the things become an excuse rather than becoming a blessing. This is what's happening in the story. The second is found in verse 19 when he talks about he's got a career to build. He was like, hey, I just bought some oxen. I'm going out to the fields to test them out. Like I've got a career to build. There's a great season in our lives where we earn. At first, we mooch off our parents, and then we earn, and then we mooch off our kids. And in that earning period, it's very fast and furious, and you're trying to get as much as you can in, and all of that is honorable. The Bible commands us to work. He wants us to provide and all of those things, but it comes with balance. And so we have in our heads, we start to say, listen, church, I'm in a building season. It's a priority. Once I get things squared up, I'll be back. I'll come and I'll connect and I'll plug in and I'll be at this table. I'll save me a seat. I'm coming one day. We have people that say, and I'm being respectful here, but we have people that say, Kevin, listen, right now, I have to work on Sunday. I have to get ahead. I can't afford to be off another day because if I slip, man, it really pushes our company back. I've got to do that. When Chick-fil-A decided to be closed on Sunday, they knew it would be around $1 billion loss to them annually to say, we're going to let our people be off. We're not going to schedule. We want them to go into houses of worship and have that as an opportunity. You can work on Saturday, but you're not going to work at Chick-fil-A on Sunday. Now, those of us that don't work there and we receive from them, we're not happy about this policy. Okay? How many of you have ever pulled up to Chick-fil-A on Sunday because you forgot? Yeah, some of you are still going to go today, even though you've been talked to about it. We got careers to build. So we got to be careful that it doesn't turn into this thing like I would really like to be more involved. I would like to give my gift to the church, but I've got a career to build. And this is exactly what the guests were talking about. Verse 20 is the third. It says that there were relationships to enjoy. Somebody said, I just got married. Like I can't come. I've now got a relationship, and that relationship takes priority. I think how that equates in our modern churches are things like that in our modern world especially. Man, our kids, when I was growing up, you had two options. You could play baseball or not play baseball. And now there's like 20 things. I've got a friend who's a pastor. He's got 3 kiddos, and Robbie and I watched them as they were raising their children, and sometimes we would see them at the ballpark, and they would be by themselves, and I'd say, where's your wife? He'd be like, oh, she's with another kid at another thing, and they would split roles. That's nothing for us now. So we say things like, listen, my kids got sports, like we paid for this, we're going to keep them involved. Just happens that they play, in South Texas on Saturday, and we can't make it back. We say things like, man, I've got to stay involved in these relationships, and my friends want to do this, or my friends want to do that, and there are people, Kevin, who need me more than the church needs me. So we abandon this. We abandon the fellowship and the faith and the conversations and the tears and the things that grow us spiritually because we check that box as we're being responsible to things. And you are, but you're saying that there are other things more important than could be the house of God and your gift there and what you're bringing to the table. I remember growing up, we were in churches that had potlucks. Anybody grow up in a church that had a potluck? Yeah, some of y'all think that was good. That was the scariest days of my life. My mom used to preface to us, and she would say, listen, in line is a green dish. Don't eat out of that. Okay? I know who made that. I'm telling you, it's scary. Don't eat out of the green dish. I grew up when I was 16 years old. I started asking pastors, hey, can I cover you while you're on vacation? Like, can I come just preach? I just wanted to just preach, and I ended up preaching. If there's a small church in Arkansas that you've driven by, I've preached there. And there was a church once in Snowball, Arkansas. Anybody know where Snowball is? It's like on your way to Branson. You turn off in Snowball. The directions for me were go down there and there's a post office. If you pass it, you've missed it. Okay? How big is this post office in Snowball, And so I walk in. It's a 1933 schoolhouse. I know that because on the side of the building, it says 1933 schoolhouse. And I go in, and the lady says to me, hey, we're serving hot dogs after church. We just want you to stick around because we're having hot dogs. And I said, okay, that's great. And I walk into the sanctuary, and there was a stove on the platform, and they were putting wood in it. And that's how they were going to heat it. And afterwards, I go out there, and these were those hot dogs. Robbie always calls them radioactive hot dogs. They're the bright red ones. And I said, oh, man, radioactive hot dogs. And I said, where'd these come from? And she said, oh, the school threw them out. So we picked them up, and that's what we're cooking today. I said, I'm actually in the middle of a fast. The Lord has called me into a fast. In verse 18 through 20, we see these things like relationships to enjoy, careers to build, and possessions to maintain. And there's a lot of I statements. I just bought some oxen. I just have a piece of property. I just got married. But to have a table in a community requires the I to die. The I in us, the I've got something, I've got to do this, and I this, and I that. It requires us to say, God, what do you want to do through me in my church? In the fellowship, around this table, around this gathering. Ironically, when you look at these 3 things, possession, career, and relationship, were actually the 3 things that God blessed Abraham with in Genesis. He gave him land in Genesis 12, verse 7. He promised him a good name and a good career, that he would exalt him, that he would make him wealthy in verse 2 of that same chapter. And then in verse 2, he also says, I'm going to give you descendants. I'm going to give you relationship. So he promised him, I'm going to give you land and career and relationship. But a blessing becomes a curse when it becomes an excuse as to why we will not engage the mission of Jesus in our lives. So this visual this morning of us at a table and us wanting to gather around and there being a seat for you is a very serious thing for us to contemplate. I like to teach it this way, and I've got a visual for you. when it comes to church, there are 4 areas. Every one of you in this building today fit into one of these 4 categories. You're either in the community. Community is like we have an event. We have a fall fest and someone comes to it. You may come at Easter or Christmas only. I don't know why I'm being careful there, because you wouldn't be here if that were you. But we've always called those creasters, right? They come at Christmas and Easter, the creasters. So you have community. And then you have the crowd. The crowd are the occasional, like once a month. Like I'm going to come and connect once a month, or I might watch online only. I'm part of the crowd. Like you throw out a big net and this is who comes back. Then it starts getting more sensitive. You've got the congregation. The congregation become people who may occasionally give to something. Like you show them a picture and you say, hey, here's hungry people and we want to feed them. And they go, I want to get behind that. That's the congregation. The congregation are people who might come 2 or 3 times a month. So you're there, you're engaged, you know some folks. This is, if anybody asks you where you go to church, you would say here. That's the congregation. And then there's the core. The core is who made sure that the thermostat was changed this morning. The core is who's walking across the parking lot and they see a piece of paper and they pick it up off the ground and they come inside and they throw it in a trash can. The core is who parked the car. The core right now are teaching your children about Jesus. That's the core. So these people have moved from door to core. So they've come in and they said, hey, I'm just part of the community. I'm just checking things out. And they slowly start to move into the crowd, into the congregation, and into the core. Churches cannot make it without the core. They cannot make it without people gathered around the table consistently. And I may be speaking out of context for some of you, but at our table growing up, there were rules. Like you had to show up. My mom, I would go to sit at the table and I would say, Mom, I don't want to sit here tonight. I really want to watch the Dukes of Hazzard. It was really about Daisy Duke, but I've prayed. I've grown up. That was a long time ago. She'd say, no, sir, you're going to sit right there. And you're going to talk and you're going to participate. And most importantly, you're going to eat everything on there. Or she'd point to a German chocolate cake and go, you can't have that. So this is about that. It had rules of engagement. And you can't really operate spiritually as a church in a community and do great things unless you've got people who have pulled up to the core. One time, Robbie made me go into a casino. And I say that because I did not want to go. I told her, I said, this is not what believers do. It's not what pastors do. And her second thing was, give me $100. So we go to this casino, and, she goes off with my wallet and does, I don't know what. And so but if you've ever been, don't raise your hand. If you've ever been, the tables are open except for like high roller tables. You can walk up to any table and you can watch. And man, it's fun. You can just sit there and there are people seated and you can watch the dealer and people are putting up, money and they're throwing in chips and I'm behind them and I'm like, do it. Go ahead, man. I like the action part. So I'm egging it on like, let's go. Throw some money in there. Make it happen. I'd go table to table. I had more fun watching people do it than myself. Here's what I observed about that in my sinful night at the casino. If you want in, you got to sit down. That's when things shift. You can stand and watch all you want. Doesn't cost you anything. But if you got to put skin in the game, you sit down. And then it hits you like, I got to ante up. Like, I gotta put something in. Everybody's looking at me. Everybody's, saying, hey, what's going on here? We love, as a culture, to watch and to egg it on and to say, hey, go and do that. We love it. We love pushing people toward it and going, go ahead, do it. Throw it in there, But when you take a seat at the table is when you realize the importance and the weight of what you're doing. And we can spend our whole lives in church standing around a table, watching people do it, watching the core, and we can just be part of the crowd, and we can just be part of the congregation. But if we want to do something incredibly well together, you got to have people willing to take another step and take a seat, to take part in it. I invite you to the table. I invite you to move from congregation to core. I invite you to help. I invite you to give. I invite you to dream about something that we could do here. I got one picture, Craig, I think he put it in. It's just of some people sitting around in a room. Do we have that? Maybe, maybe not. There it is. This came from one of our missionaries this week. Every man and woman in this room are converts from Islam. This is a pastor's school for Christianity. You know what? Some of your money went there. Yeah, go ahead. Some of your money went there. In the past 6 weeks across 18 campuses, 480 students have given their life to Christ in 6 weeks. In our campuses, yeah. Baptized so many last week they had to move it outside and get 2 and 3 baptisms going. Almost 20, I may mess this up. I don't know where Johnson's at today. There was around 20 new Bible clubs started by our high schools across this state. God is just doing something special. And again, like last week, we get to be part of that. This is what's happening. Listen, a good surfer knows when to ride the wave, okay? This is it. Get on. Pull up a chair. It's time to do something. It's time to serve somewhere. It's time to help with the mission of your church. Can I get an amen this morning? Amen. I want you to stand with me all across the building.